Hello and good evening, everyone. A very happy new year and a warm welcome to all the teachers joining us today. Uh, Before we begin today's session, we would love to know where everyone is joining from. If you can comment in the chat box, we would love to say hello. Hello, good evening, Pooja ma'am. Good evening, Jyoti ma'am. Yeah. Ashok Kumar Chaudhary sir is also here with us. Good evening. Happy New Year, Nagu Kumar sir. Hello, Shalu ma'am. Hello, Krishna sir. So yeah, where is everybody joining from? We would love to know. And a hi and a hello to everybody, but we would also really love to know where everyone is joining from. Happy New Year, Jyoti ma'am, to you as well. Good evening. Good evening. Happy New Year to all. Hello, Sangeeta ma'am. You've joined from Kolkata. Jyoti ma'am is with us from Pune. Hello, ma'am. And Krishna sir is with us from Jharkhand. Great. Miss Rebecca is joining us from Philippines. Hello, ma'am. Hello. A lot of people joining in from all across. Great to see everybody. A very happy new year to all. And wonderful. So you all can exchange pleasantries and happy new years, and we will back to everyone. So yeah, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here for today's webinar on AI literacy for every teacher, your trusted teaching companion in the AI era. As we all are already aware, AI is no longer something that's coming someday. It's already in your students' hands, shaping how they write answers, search for information, solve problems, and even how long they stay focused. So today's session not about turning teachers into tech experts, but it's about ensuring teachers remain confident guides in a world where AI is already present. So in today's session, to share his meaningful insights with all of us, we have Mr. Bhanu Potta, Consulting Senior Partner, EdTech and AI at Central Square Foundation. Telling a bit about him, Mr. Bhanu is a global leader who has scaled digital Internet of Things and AI-led products and ecosystems for people and planet impact. Over 300 million users across 100 plus countries have benefited from various digital impact products, programs, and ecosystems that he was involved in building and led in the global south across education and skilling, health, agriculture, gender, and livelihood sectors. He is also the co-architect of the AI Samarth curriculum and content stack, along with the expert team from IIT Madras. AI Samarth, a little bit for all our teachers, is a one-of-its-kind national AI literacy initiative and is aimed at raising awareness and encouraging the responsible use of AI among students, parents, and teachers. So we are really grateful to have Mr. Bhanu with us today. Hi, Bhanu.
Thank you, Surabhi. Pleasure to be with you and all the teachers from around the country and maybe some from outside India as well. It's a great start for my 2026 to be talking to all of you.
Great. And it's one day and the topic of the webinar. It is repeatedly discussed across forums, social media, everywhere that AI literacy essentially is about
Surabhi, we lost you. Can you repeat?
Yes. So, Bhanu, I will that AI literacy, is about awareness and responsible use of AI. But what does that really mean? Maybe we can open the floor of today's discussion. Some which teachers may assume or think about.
Yeah, so I think let's first, clarify a few things before we even jump into AI literacy, right? I think AI has come in, and there are generally two layers of AI, right? One is AI literacy, another is AI skills, right? AI literacy is what we can equate to something what we call as digital literacy skills. Like, do you know how to use a PC? Do you know how to use Microsoft Word? Do you know how to use a desk processing system and things like that, right? And then there is a higher level of usage where you actually build software and write. There are generally two levels of using technology. So similarly, in AI as well, there is a literacy level where everybody should know at a normal usage level, how do I use and interact with AI? And then some of the children, some of the teachers may want to go into actually building AI tools, AI software, and stuff like that. So in a broad sense, you can break that whole thing into AI literacy and AI skills, right? While AI skills is specifically for those people who want to get into building AI tools, AI literacy is for everybody, right? It is for every teacher, irrespective of whether they are teaching computer science or English or Hindi or Telugu or history or English, or any language, any subject, including the physical education teachers, can use AI in different ways, right? So AI literacy, in a broad sense, means understanding what is AI, having a general sense of how it works, how AI works, why it works the way it works, and based off of that, trying to learn how should I start interacting with AI. Having understood what AI is and how it works, how should I interact with AI as a teacher in this case, right? What is a good way of interacting with AI, and what could be potentially the bad ways of using or interacting with AI, right? So this in a nutshell is what is AI literacy about. Now, coming to your
Okay,
second
great. So
question
I,
about the
hmm,
misconceptions which could be there. Typically, there are a wide-ranging set of misconceptions which we've heard from a variety of teachers when we went into the field study before building AI Summer. On one extreme, there were people who were totally on the side of AI is correct, whatever AI says is truth, and AI is going to change my job. AI is going to even maybe remove my job. The one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum were extreme skeptics who were right. We don't believe what AI says. We believe that AI has no role in the classroom or in teaching and learning process. Right? There were both ends of the spectrum, and there was a whole lot of people in between the spectrum as well. Right? The primary misconceptions really are the following in my mind, right? One is AI is always correct. That's one of the biggest misconceptions which people have. Second misconception which people have is AI going to take away my job, right? Though it sort of comes across as a question, it is actually a misconception in the garb of a question, which needs to be addressed and understood very well. And through the conversation today, we will try to see if we can address some of these misconceptions, right? The third misconception is AI will inhibit learning, or AI will make people dumb because it is giving all the answers. That's another misconception. The fourth misconception is AI is not for everybody, right? It is only for people either in the urban areas who have digital devices with them, or are more into STEM or ICT, right? It's not for everybody. That is the fourth misconception. The fifth misconception is by the time AI comes into my classroom, it will be 5-10 years later, right?
hmm.
So these are the five broad misconceptions which we see as we went about trying to talk to teachers all around the country.
um, uh, especially the misconceptions that you talk about, that AI is not for everyone, AI is always correct. So there is a when we say that responsible use of AI is key in ensuring that pedagogy
Surbi, I've lost you. Can't hear your question.
Yeah. So, can you hear me now, Bhanu?
Yes, I can hear you now.
While we were on our first question, and the poll was that how familiar is AI to you? So, quite familiar with AI, and then 41% who believe that they are somewhat familiar, whereas we still have around 15% about this poll, Bhanu. How do you think the split is looking like? Is it very similar?
Yeah,
Where, oh,
yeah, I think I
yeah.
understand the question. You're talking about the way people have responded to their familiarity about AI. 41% saying quite familiar, somewhat familiar, 41, 44, 41, and then very new is 15. This, in a way, I'm actually not really surprised, right? And I will talk about this, right? The question is not about whether I am familiar with AI or not. The question is about, am I AI literate, right? In the sense, do I know the judicious use of AI, right? One of the apathy at this point in time is a ton of us use AI chatbots like we use Google, right? And we don't go beyond that. So there's much more in AI which can be uncovered, which we also have to which we have to unpack, right? But the good part is that over 85% of the people are already interacting with AI, right? Now go and figure out, is my interaction good, better, bad, or can I make it even better than where I am today, right? That's the conversation. So here we have an audience where we don't need to really talk about what AI is, because they know a little bit of it, they've interacted with it and all that stuff. I think now is a more question of really going about and looking at what's the best use of AI for teacher as a professional role.
As a co-architect of the AI Samarth curriculum and content stack becomes really important. It would be great if you could explain
So we lost your question.
use.
Lost your question. If you can even paste the question in the chat, I can at least read it and then maybe respond. But
So can you hear me now, Bhanu?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. So the essentially what I was talking about is that as you were a key player in co-architect.
Lost you again, Surabhi.
Approach with.
Okay, I think your question is about, as one of the co-architect of AI Summer program, how did we go about doing it? Is that
Yeah.
what it is? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I think let me just take a few minutes to kind of talk through. People can keep parking their questions in the comment boxes as it goes, and towards the end or somewhere in between, we will pick up various questions we saw and then kind of try to address a little bit of them, right? So let's actually, maybe if Praveen can help us get slide 12 onto the stage here. When we really look at AI literacy as a body of knowledge, there are specifically 5 layers, right? I'm just waiting for the slide to come in. It's not yet come up yet. Right? I'll just keep talking and it'll come when it comes. So the first, and let me call them as, maybe sort of pillars. Okay, there we are, right? So there is a whole elaborate effort which went through into creating a AI literacy curriculum for India / Bharat. and we call that AI Samarth in partnership with IIT Madras and various other entities. And this curriculum is primarily for both students and teachers, wherein teachers are the guardians of how AI should be used in a student's life, as well as their own life, right? So the way the entire architecture of the curriculum came through is through 5 pillars, as you see in the vertical boxes. So first is really understanding AI, right? What does understanding AI mean is that understanding how AI actually works in the backend, right? Under the hood, how it is working, what informs AI when AI gives a particular response, understanding why and how that response has come up, right? These are things about understanding what machine learning is, understanding what computer vision is, understanding what a neural network is. Now, it might sound as if I'm using, deeply technical terms, but in the curriculum and the content, we have actually demystified these terms into a highly simplified analogical examples as to how you can quickly understand that concept very easily, right? Then comes to the essential concepts of AI, where a lot of technical terms could be understood, so that as a teacher, when a child comes and approaches you and asks you certain questions, you are not at loss of being able to answer them, right? The third pillar is really about the social and ethical impact of AI, right? How AI can be used in a way that it is socially beneficial. What are the risks which are there in using AI in relation to society, people, and planet, right? And then we also, in that vertical, understand a lot of use cases of where AI could be used in agriculture, in health, in transport, in sports, a variety of places, right? Making it real in terms of where all AI could be used. And the fourth pillar is practical applications of AI in the life of a student, in the life of a teacher, right? And then there's the fifth pillar, which is a pillar which the teachers also have to go through. The first four blue pillars are really what are both for the students and the teachers and parents. And the fifth pillar is primarily for teachers who would be guiding the first four pillars dissemination into the classrooms. And then there are various additional topics which have also been added for teachers, because teachers should know a little bit more elaborately than the children which they are guiding and teaching, right? So one is an elaborate curriculum framework which passes through understanding AI, conceptual awareness, and impact and ethics around use of AI. And then how do you actually use it inside your classroom in a positive way, right? And then the teacher guides, right? If we can go to the next slide a little bit, these come packaged as a set of modules which are available for teachers and for students. The students modules are what teachers execute inside the classroom, but the teacher modules are what teachers can self-consume on their own or by various other methods. Here, for everybody in this community, the AI Samarth course on CENTA's teacher app is already live to go and consume this. And so we will talk about it towards the end, but it is sort of a self-learning content, is around 4.5 hours kind of content, and which leads you to a robust understanding of AI literacy for you to be able to sail through both middle school and high school level as a teacher, right? Next slide, please. I'll also give you a quick glimpse of what happens inside the curriculum when you go into different topics. Primarily for the teachers, there are TLMs, teacher learning materials, which are a package of slides which the teacher could use inside the classroom, along with a detailed lesson plan, which will help the teacher understand how I need to execute this topic inside the classroom, plus a video as well on that particular topic, because we also do understand that at times, sometimes landing these topics might come across as a difficult exercise very initially. There are various short videos like 5 minutes to 4 minutes to 7-minute videos, which the teachers could use inside their classroom to land the concept as well, or for their own learning, right? Now, what we also did as we went forward is, after this whole curriculum and content was built, if you can go to the next slide, we actually took it down into the classrooms. We took it down into rural village schools, we took it down to urban slum schools and all of that stuff. And we actually piloted the content inside the classroom and with groups of teachers, right? and we verified what is it that they are able to get, what is it that they're unable to get, and there was a whole round of revision which happened, right? So if you look at, we can go back to slide 12 and stay there for a bit. The idea really is to create a package of self-learning content for teachers to become AI literate for themselves, and then be able to ideally guide other teachers in and around their schools or even their children, right? So this is a large brush stroke of the AI curriculum content creation process. Important to note here that there are three specific actors who were involved. One is the technical expert from IIT Madras, who ensured that whatever technical terminology we are using is right, correct, accurate to the current technological state of the market and the AI sector itself. We had various teachers, award-winning teachers, who were also teachers in government schools from rural areas and other areas, who were also working with IIT Madras team, right? I'll just give you a simple example. So when we wanted to figure out how do we teach computer vision in a classroom in a rural village which has really not even seen a computer lab, right? So the teachers came up with an analogy saying that, all of our children go to vegetable markets along with their parents. And their parents, when they see tomatoes, just by looking at the tomatoes, the parents can say whether the tomato is good or bad, right? So that is an oversimplified example of computer vision, where the concept of computer vision can be rendered to anybody who might be not having too much of digital resources or digital awareness as well, right? What we need to keep in mind here is that when ICT came in, uh, the first ICT programs in India in schools started in 84-85 academic year, right? And by the time the full stack curriculum came, it was 2000, 2001. And by the time where we are today, even today, we don't have ICT all across the country, right? But we don't see AI taking so much time because AI is present in the mobile phones, right? So it will reach the younger children much faster than what ICT, which needed a physical computer, took over 40 years, right? So this is going to come at us at a almost like a tsunami in a way, and it's better for teachers to preemptively get equipped for it. So I'll pause here and over to you, Sid.
Yeah, and actually, the last point also feeds into one of the misconceptions that you spoke about in our earlier questions. That many feel that AI requires a certain kind of infrastructure, etc., and it's only limited to those individuals who are technical experts or have a certain kind of ecosystem around them. Whereas you actually very rightfully said right now that AI is going to spread like a wildfire, because everybody in many ways has access to AI in one form or the other through their mobile phones.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. And
I would
yeah,
just like to add a small example here, right? You know
yeah,
what?
sure.
There is we are all interacting with AI in two ways. One is a active way of interacting, in the sense that what does active interaction mean? That I, as a student, or I, as a teacher, I'm going into a chatbot, asking a question, blah blah blah, directly interacting with AI, and I know that I'm interacting with AI. However, there is a huge amount of passive AI interaction which every one of us do. Something as simple as watching YouTube. How does your next video get recommended? AI is deciding what is your next video to be shown, right? So if as a teacher you're able to tell your children that YouTube will take you into a tunnel because it's AI believes that you like these kind of videos, and you will only be served those. But if you want to change how you use YouTube for productive purposes as a student, you then have to deliberately go and search for subject topics and concepts, so that the AI learns that Raju is now also interested in physics and algorithms and other things, and not just sports and video games, right?
Yeah.
So just that small action, right? This is a classic example of passive usage, right? We're constantly consuming, but we don't see it as AI, but AI is working in the back. And every one of us, the students, teachers, all of us should be aware. And there is a way to correct how YouTube recommends you different videos, right? Okay, fair enough. You got overboard, and when IPL was happening, you watched too much of cricket. But at a point in time when exams come, YouTube will still keep serving you IPL videos unless you kind of take 2-3 actions of asking for some subject videos and stuff like that, right? And once
Yeah.
you do that, it goes, oh, something has happened, and Raju is or Rani is now interested in this, and it will start showing that, right? So this is another. This is how prolific the AI in our lives is already. I'm not even talking about next year. I'm talking about already.
Yeah, and actually, Bhanu, one of our viewers here also has asked a question that now you in a very amazing way you explained active and passive usage of AI. I would also like to ask, like, is there some other way in which we can also categorize AI? Like, what different kinds of AI exist out there? Because one of the attendees for the webinar is asking that maybe we can also shed some light on what kind of different AIs exist out there.
Yeah, I think there are at least 3 different AIs which are available. One is the AI which is working behind the experiences. The classic YouTube example which I gave, where the end user may not even realize that they are interacting with AI, but it's happening in the background, right? These are called under the hood AI engines, which are there, right? Then comes the AI, which is like either your ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these things where you have an AI app or a product or a tool, and you know that it is AI, and then you are talking to it, and this is what we typically call as generative AI, right? Then there is also AI which is sitting inside machines nowadays, right? There's AI which is sitting inside self-driving cars. There is AI which is sitting inside drones. There is AI which is sitting inside aeroplanes. There is AI which is sitting inside, shipping industry, which is working along with machines in the industrial level, right? So these are the broad 3 strokes of AI in terms of the way it manifests. One is it's invisible, it's under the hood. Second is you deliberately talk to it. The third is the machines are talking to AI, and the human is actually on the side overseeing what is happening.
Okay, great. So we also ran another poll for those who have joined us today, and the poll was, "How have you used AI tools so far?" So majority have answered. 55% have answered that they have used it for both personal use and teaching role. It's great to know that many of them, in fact, more than 50%, have also used it. Only for teaching is 24%, and for personal use only is 15%. Not used AI tools yet is actually a very small percentage, which is around 6%. So again, like, it feeds back into what we have been discussing, that AI is very rapidly being adapted in different parts of our lives. And of course, now essentially this entire conversation is about how it can seep into the classrooms effectively in a meaningful manner. So yeah, great to see. And in fact, if people can also put it in the chat box that how is it that they have been using it in their classrooms, because I feel like a good percentage has said that they have been also using it for teaching only. Around 24% people have said, and 55% have said that they have used for personal and teaching. So yeah, it would be great if we can also have some responses from people sharing. Yeah, great. So meanwhile, moving on, with the webinar segment, we would now like to play a brief video for all the attendees today, where we have captured voices from the ground on AI usage and perceptions among teachers and students. Meanwhile, if there are any questions from the audience's side, we would love to take those up as well. So yeah, we can probably just cue in the video, and we'd love to also hear from all the attendees post this.
Interactions with technology are becoming an everyday reality for young learners in India. In fact, 82% of children aged 14 to 16 in rural India know how to use a smartphone. Students and teachers are engaging with a range of digital platforms.
यूपीआई ऐप से का ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए यूज करती है गूगल क्रोम
यूट्यूब।
मैं क्वेश्चन टाइप करता हूँ और विद इन 1 सेकंड आंसर आ जाता है।
मैंने चैटबॉट यूज किया है।
With the rapid growth of artificial intelligence, an increasing number of these platforms are powered by AI. However, understanding of AI remains limited among students and teachers.
शायद सुपर फास्ट कंप्यूटर्स हैं ये।
मुझे एआई के बारे में नहीं पता। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और आ रोबोट, ये मतलब एक ह्यूमन माइंड की तरह एक मशीन है जो काम करती है। वो हमें न तो प्रोवोक कर रहे होते हैं न मिसगाइड कर रहे होते हैं।
Teachers, as key guides in the classroom, hold varying perceptions about AI in education.
दोनों वे हैं, पॉजिटिव एंड नेगेटिव, बट अगर हम उनसे कोई क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं और जो वो आंसर दे रहा है विदाउट एडिटिंग, वो बस को कॉपी पेस्ट कर आते हैं।
एआई के बारे में तो मैं कोई डिफिनेशन उसको बता ही नहीं पाई। अधिकतर टीचर्स को ये पता नहीं होगा कि इस चीज के बारे में क्या है। टीचर्स को ही ट्रेनिंग मिलनी चाहिए आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के रिसोर्स के लिए। हमारे पास स्मार्ट क्लास या आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस से संबंधित जो भी चीजें हैं वो हमें मिलनी चाहिए।
Moreover, a dipstick survey reinforced widely varying beliefs about AI among students and teachers. When used responsibly, AI holds immense promise to deeply personalize learning, spark curiosity, optimize teacher workload, and unlock learner-centered education at scale. However, using AI without adequate awareness poses risks from misinformation, data privacy, cognitive offloading, and missed opportunities for enhancing learning. Thus, building AI literacy becomes crucial to ensure that users can engage with AI responsibly, critically, and effectively. But what is AI literacy? AI literacy is the knowledge and practice that enables students, teachers, and parents to understand what artificial intelligence is, how to use it meaningfully, safely, and responsibly, and how it affects our increasingly digital lives. While many countries are tackling this challenge through various initiatives, to bridge this gap in India, a structured AI literacy program is needed.
You're on mute, Surabhi.
So yeah, I was saying that I think a very succinct and a good video explaining the potential risks, why AI literacy is important. There was this one particular term. I would even urge all the attendees to definitely share their questions that they may have about the video. There is one that I have. There was a term there which was cognitive offloading. That is one of the possible challenges of let's say using AI. Could you please explain what does cognitive offloading essentially mean and how can that be tackled?
Sure. I think that's one of the biggest landmine which everybody worries about, as teachers, as students, as learners and professors, right? I think let's go back to history, right? And history which we all know, right? Most of us, when we were in, our middle school and high school, if people remember, people who are above 40 will surely remember, there used to be something called a logbook. There used to be a logarithm book which you used to take to your mathematics classroom, and you used to look into the logbook and then kind of transfer numbers into your, your working, and then you also could take your small little logbook to your exam centers and all of that stuff, right? And from there we moved into calculators, right? That became digital. And there were obviously voices even at that particular point in time which worried about, bringing class calculator means that they're going to lose arithmetic value, right? It was not about yes or no, but it was more about at which level do I bring in and for what purpose, right? what cognitive offloading is basically is that the student is stopping to put their thinking or mind, and they're just going to go and ask AI to do their homework, right? For example, if a particular teacher has given a exercise, which is write a 100-word or 150-word essay on Rani Lakshmibai, right? And the fear is that the child will go to either Meta AI, Gemini, this, that, and the other, and then just give the homework and then ask AI to do the homework and then write that back into their notebook and come, right? That's what is cognitive offloading, where the student has really not applied himself or herself, and that's the biggest landmine, right? Now, there is no real way of policing for that. You can tell the students don't do it, but they will do it. You can even tell the teachers to develop lesson plans on your own, but they will also go to ChatGPT and develop lesson plans. Right? What we need to do is we need to move from that, very transactional, secretarial kind of a transaction to a thinking or a co-thinking transaction, where if I convert my exercise as a teacher and say, write your own essay on Rani Lakshmibai, take it to one or two AI tools, ask for them to review, understand what feedback it is given, and come up with a second version. And please submit both the versions. The moment I do that, what I'm doing is I'm changing the transaction of the child from I'm just getting the AI to kind of do my work to the entire exercise is changed. See, you see what I did? I just changed the whole exercise where firstly I legitimize the use of AI in it, but I also contextually said how you should use AI. So you write your own work first, then submit it to a 1 or 2 or 3 AI tools, whatever you have access to. Look at what all feedback they're giving, and then improve your essay to a next version, and please submit both versions, right? Here, by transforming the exercise a little bit from a pedagogic point of view, here what I've done is I've done AI-infused pedagogy. Right? I just changed my exercise. Exercise is Rani Lakshmibai essay. The kernel of the activity is the same, but the transaction is what I played with. Right?
Okay.
Now, in AI Samarth, there are a lot of these examples as to how teachers can do these things on the fly, on their own.
Bhanu,
right?
just an added question here. Sorry for cutting you short there. Just one added question. So, in the future, then, are we looking at teachers essentially integrating these kind of activities for all assessments, or do we believe that there should be some kind of a mixed batch? When you say
It's
that they
always
should
a mixed bag,
submit,
right? It is always a mixed bag, and I fundamentally believe the teacher who is in the front line at the classroom should have the liberty to choose which parts of it they will make AI infused, which parts of it they will say stay away from AI. We don't want children who are in the FLN stage to start interacting with chat tools too early. Maybe the right age to do that is maybe grade 6 and above. There could be various conversations, and even then, for this type of exercises, let us use it. For this type of exercise, let us not use it. All of this thinking has to also evolve, and this again is also not for somebody sitting somewhere in one headquarter to kind of tell everybody what to do. I think there will be a whole lot of experimentation which every teacher, everybody has to do, and then things have to roll up and evolve, right?
In fact, Miss Rama Devi has asked a very interesting question. She asked, how can she use AI to teach state language to different, state language to probably underprivileged students, essentially? How can she essentially use AI to teach state language to students who probably do not speak that particular language? Let's say, for example, she wants to
Yeah.
So that's an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah. I mean, at the risk of getting it wrong, it will depend actually on which grade of child are we talking about in Miss Ramaji's question, right? If it is at the very youngest stage, then AI might not have too much of a role to play because it's more mother tongue familiarity and all those issues. But as you go to the higher levels, that becomes a far more easier transaction to do, provided the all the child or the teacher or the classroom needs is access to a mobile phone with internet. That's all. We don't, unlike in an area where in the ICT era where we needed a whole big computer to do stuff, in the AI era, we don't need a whole big computer to do AI. It works just on a simple mobile phone. But again, going back to the question of Ramaji, it will depend on the grade level, but it is to basically say that one is to try and make them learn the state language, or another is to say, here is the exercise coming in the state language. Use ChatGPT to or any AI tool to convert into the language you understand, right? So that you are understanding. It's less about teaching them the state language forcefully, but it is about giving them a tool to read into the exercises and content which is written in the state language to be able to understand in their own mother tongue, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, we want learning to be delivered as opposed to forcing a particular language, right? And we know,
Yeah.
I'm particularly being a little bit sensitive about how we sometimes put undue pressure on migrant labor workers who are moving from a public school in Bihar to a public school in Bangalore, and suddenly, the public school in Bangalore has to now deal with the children who don't know Kannada, right? And there are a lot of sensitivity. There, the tools can come in and help them understand and decode between the two languages.
Yeah, and which is why probably students are asking AI related questions. So we ran another poll. 67% of the teachers and the attendees have answered that they have been asked questions about AI by their students. So that again, going back to the original point, shows that students are aware of it. They are actively engaging with it. In fact, while we were discussing the previous point, you spoke about integration, and we have been talking about integrating AI effectively in classrooms. I would, in fact, also like to share a feedback that we received. We've been receiving immense feedback from a lot of teachers regarding, the AI Samarth course. And one specific teacher, Miss Ruby Chaudhary from Jaipuria School, Vasundhara, Ghaziabad, she says that the Learn AI, Question AI, Use AI course, that specific module I think she's talking about, offered meaningful insights into how AI can be used thoughtfully in education. She found the sessions to be the modules to be very engaging, and she's now started integrating AI tools in her classrooms. In fact, another Miss Lavanya Suresh from Mitra Academy, Bangalore, in fact, she shared an extensive, very detailed feedback with us, where she's speaking about the course's prompt engineering strategies, and how she's using that to create worksheets, mind maps, and reinforcement questions that students tailor to varying students from various grades. So yeah, I feel that definitely teachers are also integrating AI into the classrooms. But then this also leads, what you also I think briefly spoke about, is the ethical and responsible use of AI, and how to essentially build critical thinking skills. I think that example that you gave very explained it in a very very nice manner, that how critical thinking and problem solving skills be enhanced with the use of AI, and how it can not lead to cognitive offloading. But I think we can also, because it's such an important topic, I think we can probably run it by all our attendees once more. So yeah, over to you.
So I think let me first talk about critical thinking and then come to the ethical side of the matter, right?
Sure.
So in the example, I'll go back to the example so that we can just use the example to extend critical thinking as well, right? So in that particular example of Rani Lakshmi Boy, we created a critical thinking opportunity for the child where he or she took their original work to 2 or 3, AI tools, and they got feedback from all of them. And now they need to and all 3 tools would have given slightly different feedback, some overlapping, some not relevant. And then that person then needs to kind of decipher which parts of, and I'm really pushing the person to go on the theory of knowledge side, right? I'm really pushing the child to start thinking about, 3 sets of feedback, right? Now I need to start thinking which parts of the feedback are common, so I need to address those. some of the feedback are not common, where I need to bring in my judgment saying, this tool A said something, but the other two didn't say. Would I value it, not value it? Do I feel for it? Do I not feel for it? That's where you're really forcing the child to think through and evaluate their own work with review given, which is getting them to metacognition level, right? Ultimately, which is the whole effort of education is to get from route to metacognition, right? Thinking about my own thing, right? Here again comes the questions of ethics and all of that stuff, right? Let's just take a simple example, right? When you talk about Rani Lakshmi Bai, and now is Rani Lakshmi Bai referred to as a freedom fighter or a revolutionary or a troublemaker, right? If there are a lot of articles which were writing about Rani Lakshmi Bai from the colonial era, which are digitized and available, who depict them as opponents and people who are creating trouble for peace and security of the colonies of British around the world, the review will get colored, right? On the other side, if there's literature about Rani Lakshmi Bai, which is adequately well written, where she's positioned as a freedom fighter, the AI would respond differently, right? But important to keep in mind here is that a lot of literature about Rani Lakshmi Bai being a freedom fighter and a positive protagonist is in languages which have not yet been digitized. That literature might not have been digitized, while all the English literature has been digitized. So when the AI is working on it, it is also working on the bias of, when I go back and look at what all is written about Rani Lakshmi Bai to give this child the feedback, even AI is dependent on what all data is available to it, right? So here is a great example where once the exercises come back, the teacher can start bringing out these ethical questions onto the table and start asking, if you flip the example between Rani Lakshmi and make it to Bhagat Singh, the ethical question of how Bhagat Singh is referred to in news in those periods, all the news articles in those periods versus how we write about him now. So these are all nuances which come in, right? The data which is there creates the ethical questions, right? And we have to ensure that our children are aware of these ethical questions and they're able to ask and check 2-3 more times, right? If AI says this is what this is it correct? Is it accurate? Can I cross verify? Can I look at other sources? Can I even ask AI, is there a counterpoint? Is there a counter view? And then say, what are the counter views about Rani Lakshmi Bai?
And that would actually mean actively engaging and not just passively taking whatever is being given. In fact, just an addition to this, Ms. Rebecca is asking, does AI support learning or does it replace students' thinking? You've answered it, but it's just an add-on to what we've been discussing. Yeah.
In my view, AI doesn't do anything. How you use AI, the how you use AI decides whether you're offloading or whether you're creating more value, right?
Okay.
If you stick with the Rani Lakshmi Bai example, one is you give Rani Lakshmi Bai essay homework, they go right with ChatGPT, you have no clue. You evaluate, give them marks, and they'll go at the end of the year, they flunk the exam because there's no AI in the examination center. The other is you flip it to the use AI as your partner, ask it to review, create that critical thinking opportunity, bring the questions of the essays back, use the essays which are coming in to ask ethical questions about, are there counterpoints on what AI believes Rani Lakshmi Bai is, right? So this is how you stitch. This is the how part. It is less about AI using a particular AI tool. It is about more as a teacher, how am I intervening and how am I creating the AI infused PED, transaction.
So then it actually further, I think, sort of branches into two different parts, which even some of our attendees have asked us, and I just like to read out. So Mr. Mohammed, if I'm reading the name right, Mohammed says that is it possible to manage the learning activities in school only with AI management without any teacher or supervisor? And I'll add another question to it as well, which is, how do you succeed to conquer inclusivity in a highly populated classroom which is technology free? And I think this is a reality in several classrooms of India as well, where the teacher pupil ratio is quite a lot, and then let's say we don't really have a lot of tech setup or whatever, maybe even accessibility to mobile phones. So then how do you really ensure inclusivity in the usage of AI?
Yeah, so let's take in the two steps in the order you asked the question, right?
Yeah.
The first one is about what was the first one? Can you remember?
Sorry. Yeah, sure. The first one is that would it be possible to manage the learning activities in school only with AI management without any teacher or supervisor? So teacher's
Oh,
role is
okay.
not that important, is it? Is
Okay.
what basically the
Yeah,
person
so
is
I
asking.
think so. This again is the myth, the one of the myths which I talked about, the second myth. Will AI replace teachers, right? Fundamentally, what is teaching? What is teaching? Teaching is making the child capable of making judgment calls, right? Teaching is not mugging up something. If we stick on to this decision, even when we use AI, the judgment call ultimately we taught. How do you make a judgment, right? If let us say AI tells that Bhagat Singh is was a criminal, because a lot of news articles in the British Times were written in that way, right? That is where the opportunity to discuss judgment comes in, right? And that judgment AI is not going to do. It's just incapable of that. That's where the human and the teacher has to come in, right? So I don't see a future where AI will replace teachers. I only see a future where teachers use AI effectively to deliver better learning outcomes and even higher order critical thinking and higher order metacognition outcomes for their children. Then comes the question of the classrooms where there is no
How do you
digital.
ensure inclusivity? Yeah.
There's no digital technology, and then inclusivity in the sense of there could be multiple inclusivity, right? There could be socioeconomic, linguistic, or class related, or whatever, right? There could be there's a nuance there. Firstly, I think the way I look at it is there are enough and many surveys which are talking about even a child in a middle school in rural India. Over 85% and more of them have access to some shared mobile device, which is internet connected, and they are already using it for 2 to 3 hours a week, even though it is a shared device. It's not their own. It either belongs to their parents or it belongs to an elder cousin or an uncle or aunt, or even a neighborhood baya or these. And people are using. So it is less about devices, not that. Right? Okay. And India is the most affordable internet cost ever in the world, right? Even if my class does not have any computer, like the Learning Expert by example which I gave, is you just write on your own handwriting physical notebook. Use one of the free apps. ChatGPT is free, Gemini is free, all of these are free. They can be accessed on anybody's phone, right? And it just takes 5 minutes to run that query. You just have to photograph that particular 2 pages you wrote and then ask it for a review, right?
Yeah.
So devices need not to be owned, data need not to be owned, they can be borrowed, is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Now this calls for community coming into play, right? Now here is where we as teachers need to maybe also try to explain to parents that there might be times when I will give a homework which involves a little bit of AI, and at that particular point in time, allow your child to use the phone. And in fact, if you really go and see, as you go down in the socioeconomic pyramid, the main actor who uses a digital device at home becomes the child. You go to the most rural villages, there's a phone, but who's the master user of the phone? Not really the father and the mother. It's actually that fourth grader, fifth grader, seventh grader who is doing things for the parent. So we have already seen this with UPI, we have seen this with Aadhaar, we have seen this with our COVID vaccine transaction. All of those were actually done on the back of a lot of these high schoolers and middle schoolers and undergraduates who are helping the original owner of the phone, who is digitally actually much more illiterate than the child who is in our classroom.
Yeah, definitely. So digital stack in India has definitely encouraged and will ensure the trickling down of AI across the board, irrespective of where the people are. Just the knowledge and intent, if that is there, definitely they are going to be using
Yeah,
it for purposes.
our
Yeah.
role as teachers is to first learn what is ethical and good use of AI, effective use of
Yeah.
AI, and then teach that to our children.
Yeah, which actually takes me to the final part, because it felt like that we've yeah. So I just wanted to ask you, Bhanu. So in this case, what would you say, or what would be your advice, to teachers? How is it that they can get started with AI, and even schools for that matter, like teachers as of course at an individual level, but even schools, what can they
Yeah, I
do?
think so. Two, three things which I see, right? I mean, firstly, as a teacher, the teacher is one of the very interesting thing about the teacher is that the teachers are teaching learners, but the teacher is a constant lifelong learner himself or herself, right? So in that context, they need to learn about AI, irrespective of whether their school is doing it or their department is doing it or not. Just because it is good for them as a professional in the teaching arena to understand what digital learning or AI based learning would and should look like, just for their own individual self, right? Second comes the aspect of trying to guide and coach your students about use of AI and all that stuff, right? And third comes the question of, can we go back to our schools and start talking to the teachers in the staff room, saying that let's all together kind of try and understand how we can use AI collectively in the school, right? I'm just giving random examples here, right? Can five of us actually go and do the CENTA AI Samarth course, and then come back and discuss in the staff room as to middle school may, what are the 15 exercises next year we want to infuse with AI, right? You can even create a small club of AI teachers inside your school, uh, learn AI literacy together, discuss, and then come up with, each person take 5, 6 exercises and try to come up with, how do I do a new design of AI infused ped for that particular exercise, which, like Rani Lakshmibai, takes through the critical thinking, metacognition, ethical questions, and having the ability to argue and debate with AI as well. Not just take what it says for granted,
Yeah,
right?
so I think these are some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are some really great takeaways. I think one of the things that you mentioned is that teaching is making the child capable of taking a judgment call. I think like that is also key here, alongside the fact that definitely teachers uh, are lifelong learners. They have to be, so that they can also enable their kids, their students, to learn effectively. At the same time, I think these are some really amazing, wonderful, and I think very doable ideas, where clubs are formed at a community or at a school level. Staff rooms can actually become the hubs of AI revolution in schools, where teachers can come together in small groups and take up AI, definitely the AI Samarth course, and try out different AI tools available, and also kind of see and witness how AI can be effectively translated in their classrooms and for their students. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
would just
wonderful.
like to take
Yeah,
one question which I saw, which is an interesting, which flew by.
yeah, sure, please.
Early child, when early child education have a fruitful use case of AI, right? Here, I would just like to give an example, right? In the early child education, AI can come as a very helpful tool for the teacher. And I'll just give you an example, right? If I'm in a grade 2 classroom of around, let's say, 20, 25, 30 children, right? Now I give a dictation to them, right? Now, as a teacher, if I click all the 30 dictation sheets and submit it to AI and say, now segregate these sheets in 3 buckets of their correctness, like, level them, these 10 are doing well, these are, struggling, and, based on that, come up with the next set of dictations for them, which is level to them. Right? And then I take that 3 versions of dictations and take them. One of the big issue with FLN, particularly in language learning, is that we give the same set of challenges to all 30 people. And the weaker people, they get just reinforced that it is beyond them. Right? And they're constantly, every test, they are losing. So how can we use AI to come up with multiple sets of dictations for every classroom, where the ones who are falling behind, they don't get the complex dictation sheet, but they actually get one which is slightly more easier for them to just get the one more word right, as opposed to get all 10 wrong, right? And how does the ones who are on the top can move forward, right? And this is a classic case even in multi-grade classrooms, right? A lot of our schools are multi-grade, multi-level classrooms as well. And I think there again, the teacher can use for themselves when they are evaluating, when they are segregating, when they are writing reports on children, they can use for themselves as a productivity tool to need not necessarily put it in front of the child, but use for their own use cases, right?
Yeah, I think definitely so. And for all the teachers who are present with us today, I think that's a great takeaway. And I'm pretty sure that many of them, if not all, are going to be taking and applying these tips and these different ideas in their own classrooms. Yeah, so as we come to a close for today's session, Bhanu, I would thank you on behalf of the CENTA team and all the attendees, all the teachers who have joined us today. I think everybody has learned immensely. They have gotten some great ideas and insights about the usage of AI, about the responsible and ethical use of AI, and yeah, I am pretty sure that everyone is going to take something or the other from this session.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and it's a great start to 2026 to be able to start it off and kick it off with teachers. Nothing better than that. What I would only suggest is treat AI as your counterpart, as your partner, and experiment with it, right? And figure out. And I'm pretty sure most of our teachers are very smart. They're smart enough to figure out AI-infused pen very easily. All they need to do is don't fall into the fear factor bucket, or either the extreme of everything is correct, either the extreme of everything is wrong. But be bold enough to experiment, pilot, test, play with some of the things. Maybe ask some of your children in the middle school. Middle school children are actually amazing, a lot. Ask them, what are the AI related exercises we should do, right? Make them partners of the journey along with them. Be a little bit bold, be a little bit experimentative, and discover for India what works.
Great. I think wonderful. We are ending on a wonderful note there, Bhanu. Thanking you once more on everyone's behalf. And now, as I was saying before, as we have come to the close of today's session, we'd love to show you a demonstration on how teachers can enroll for the AI Samarth course. As we discussed during this session, I'd like my colleague Praveen to showcase to everyone that how is it we can enroll for this course. In the comment section as well, you might be seeing the AI Samarth link. Once you go to the landing page, you will find the enroll now option. As you can see, the enroll for free button is right there. This is the landing page. This is the CENTA's landing page for AI Samarth. As we've discussed already, the AI Samarth course has been developed by the Central Square Foundation in collaboration with IIT Madras, and CENTA has partnered with CSF to provide this course to teachers across the country. In fact, the AI Samarth course is currently available in 5 different languages, which is English, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, and Marathi. Also, upon completion of the AI Samarth course, you will also receive a record of completion. As we can see here, there is a dummy certificate right there on the screen for everyone. And it is a 3.5 hour self-paced course with 50 plus lessons. As already shared with you, it is a multilingual course where post which, once you complete all the modules, you receive a record of completion. And most importantly, it is free of cost, both registration and the record of completion. So all the teachers who have joined us today, in fact, teachers in your community, we would urge you to also share it with as many teachers as possible. It is a movement in itself where we are trying. CSF, IIT Madras, and several other people, including CENTA, have come together to ensure that AI literacy seeps in to every nook and corner of be it schools, be it teachers, be it students, even parents. So, as we come to the close of today's session, I want to leave you with one simple thought that AI is already a part of your students' lives. They are learning with it, they are using it. Many a times they can also be misled if they are not guided properly, and which is why the AI Samarth course is going to be really helpful to ensure that how can this technology, how can AI be used responsibly for the students. Again, as a closing thought, AI Samarth is a free, self-paced, teacher-first learning journey co-created by IIT Madras and Central Square Foundation and offered through CENTA to help every teacher from every subject and grade feel confident in the AI era. So thank you everyone for attending today's session. It has been wonderful to have you all here. Until next time.